how to increase the chances of you getting the remote job you want by 400%. I've been in the recruitment industry for 10 years. And so I have a little bit of knowledge on what employers look for when they're looking to hire even their remote people. Now, how can you do things differently? How can you stand out? Because the reality is this, we have to understand a problem here. A lot of people today want hybrid and remote jobs. In fact, having a job in the office Monday to Friday is something that most people do not actually want. And so you're going to have a lot of people applying for the, remote jobs, the hybrid jobs. And therefore, if you have a lot of people applying, you're going to have a lot of competition. You need to stand out. Now, what do most people do? Most people will send their CVs. Most people will send a CV and hope they get a response. Well, if you want to stand out, you're going to have to do things differently. And look, as someone who's been in the recruitment industry for 10 years, most people will just send a CV. Most people will send a CV and hope for the best. And as someone who gets, 100 CVs plus a day, I can tell you something. I don't look at 100 CVs. Actually, I look at maybe 15, 20, 25 CVs. And if I get the relevant person who I think can do the job, then guess what? I'm going to put that person forward to the company, and likelihood is they will get an interview or they will be right for the job. And so you need to try to stand out. And the way you're going to be able to do that is do things differently when you're applying for jobs. So say, for example, you take the route of applying on Indeed. You go on CV Library, read, or you go on the job board that you have. You go on Google, you type in your job, and now you found your company. I'll tell you exactly what you need to do. Send your CV as you were doing. That's completely fine. But then what you need to do is you need to go onto the company that you were basically applying to, find them on LinkedIn. Once you find them on LinkedIn, you're going to try approach the HR person, the director, a senior person, basically, who would potentially be involved in the interview process or, hiring of the role that you're looking for. Now, when you approach them on LinkedIn, you need to send them a message. Now, there is a message, there's a script, there's everything. I've actually written a full guide up. If you guys want it, by the way, it's completely free. I will leave the page below. Leave your details and then you'll get the full guide sent to yourself. Having said that, you now need to approach the person who works within the company, send them a message and let them know that you are interested in the job that they've got advertised and why you would be relevant, right? Now, past that, you need to give the company a call. Once you call the company, you need to try to speak to someone. And by the way, you might not speak to the HR person. You might not speak to the director. You might not speak to, the best of the best. You might even speak to the receptionist, and that is completely fine, because what you can say is this. And again, in the full guide, I actually mention what you would need to say when you speak to the person and the company and, the point of contact. But let's assume now you speak to the receptionist, right? So to the receptionist, I would say something like, let's say Mark is the director of the company and he is part of the hiring process, right? I would say, hi, I saw that you were advertising for a role, and I assume Mark maybe has some dealing with it. Is it possible to speak to Mark? Now, maybe Mark is busy, because most busy people are busy, right? And so he doesn't pick up the phone. I would say to the receptionist, no problem at all. He's busy. Can you do me a huge favor and just let him know I gave a call, I've sent an email, and I've sent my CV, and I'm really interested in this job. Now, what you're doing there is you're standing out from the rest. Because guess what? 99% of people don't do that. I promise you, as someone who is in recruitment, people do not do that. And if you approach on LinkedIn, then call, and then even better, if you can make a presentation, it just has to be 4 slides, by the way, a 4-slide presentation to why you would be relevant for this job in particular, you increase your chances of getting this job by 400%. I guarantee it. Like, you do this process, but it doesn't end there, because what you then need to do is go on your CV and mention things like, this presentation, or in an email, or in the message that, well, probably not in the message on LinkedIn. And by the way, the full guide obviously explains this on how you would do this. But what is a problem sometimes companies have with people working remote jobs, right? Will they be, logged in at 8:30, at 9 o'clock, and will they finish at 5:30? Do they have a space where they can work? Do they have their own laptop? These are problems that a company faces when hiring remote people. You guys need to understand that, and you guys need to come up with solutions to how you can solve that for companies and mention that. So understanding these problems and then addressing them, possibly in an interview, possibly in your CV, possibly when you're sending an email, you would say things like, I have my own office at home, I have my own desk set up at home, and so working from home is not an issue. And in fact, I'm someone who likes to wake up early. I'm someone who likes to get on with my work, and so I completely understand there is an element of trust which is involved in hiring people remotely. And so rest assured that this is something that I'm already well equipped to do. Now, addressing these problems, trust me, a lot of people have these companies have these issues, problems in their head. I hire people remotely, right? I need to know whether they're staying on top of the work. If they're not staying on top of the work, then there's a problem, right? So these are problems that you have to address. Send messages on LinkedIn, call the company up directly, fix your CV up. So points are mentioned around maybe how you are suitable to work remotely. You can mention things like ready to work remotely, own office setup, something like that. And trust me, it goes a long way, right? And so remember, what you're trying to do is stand out from the rest. Now, after that, obviously it's based on your experience and whether you're relevant for the job. But I tell you something, personality and character goes a long, long way compared to experience. In fact, I would say if someone has, 7 out of the 10 boxes ticked and another person has 5 out of the 10 boxes ticked, but their character and personality is good and that is exactly what the company are looking for, then I promise you, 9 out of 10 times, the company will hire the person who ticks 5 out of the 10 boxes. Bearing in mind, I've been in recruitment for 10 years, and so I have a good understanding of what companies look for. They will pick the person with less experience because they know they can train the person to being the person that they want. And that goes a long way. That's something you have to understand. So hopefully, look, this video benefited you guys. If there's any questions, let me know in the comments below. Remember to subscribe to the channel and share with your family and friends.